right, everybody. Okay, so I hope you have all of the things that you need in order to participate today, because again, this is going to be a relatively interactive workshop. Okay, I would love for you guys to participate along the way. But here's today's agenda. We're going to go over finding job opportunities. How in the world do you do that? And then how do you research them? We're going to talk briefly about writing a resume and a cover letter. We're going to talk about applying to different jobs, accepting and preparing for an interview. We're going to talk about succeeding in an interview and mock interviews, which is something that we're going to host for you guys in a couple of weeks on the 23rd. And then lastly, we'll talk about working as a minor, because if you are under the age of 18, there's some things that you need to know. All right, so up first, finding job opportunities. So what in the world are your opportunities, first of all? So you can start with an internship, an apprenticeship, or a job. So if you are an intern, then you are not always paid. Most likely you are not going to be paid actually, although sometimes they do offer college credit for completing an internship. Usually these are short term and they can be in any field, but usually they require some prior knowledge. So if you have computer experience, or if you have experience with children, those are all helpful things, right? Like depending upon what type of an internship you're applying for. An apprenticeship is similar. However, it's a paid position. It's usually long-term. It can actually turn into a full-time job for the same company. And it's generally in a skilled trade. So something like construction, or something with like an electrician or a plumber, something along those lines. And then you could obviously get a job too, something seasonal or part-time, something full-time, or something per diem, which means per day. So if, for example, babysitting is something per diem, right? Because you're getting paid per day. Another example of something per diem is if you perhaps mow lawns, or you do yard work for your neighbors, that's also per diem. Okay, so some of the online job search engines, there are many. However, not all of them are created equal. So first and foremost, your most general job search engine is going to be Google. However, if you just say, hey, job search engines, and type it in Google, you'll have links to all of these different websites pop up. Indeed tends to be one of my favorites, just because they do actually offer a search engine for internships as well. Snag a Job, ZipRecruiter. I'm sure you guys have all heard the commercials for ZipRecruiter. Monster, LinkedIn. Actually, LinkedIn tends to be kind of a cool one once you're in the professional world. Glassdoor, Simply Hired, and Go Educate. And I actually really wanted to show you guys this Go Educate. This is actually a brand new website, and I kind of wanted to get you guys in on the forefront of this. So this is super cool. This is actually something that's based out of the Sacramento area. And just for your information, you guys need to start by creating an account. Everything for you guys on this website is free to access once you've created an account. And all it's going to ask for is your name and an email address. And then it's going to ask you to verify your email address. But then once you're in, you can take the career survey. And it's actually a really, really cool survey. So it's going to ask you specific questions. Here, I'll show you actually. So if you were to take the survey, it might ask me to log in. Okay. So if you were to take the survey, it's going to ask you about activities that you enjoy. So it's going to give you an entire list. And maybe you go down and you're like, okay, I want to teach people new things. And I like to help people make up their minds. And I like to study the natural environment. Okay, let's just pick a few. Okay, then we're going to go to next, or personal qualities. Okay, are you community-minded, compassionate, coordinated, detail-oriented? Maybe you're enthusiastic or friendly. Maybe you're a good listener. I'm just choosing here, guys, okay? Maybe you are self-motivated and service-minded, okay? School subjects, so things you like in school. So maybe you like agriculture or art, biology, business law, chemistry, communications. I love communications. Maybe you like the earth sciences or economics or English or government, health sciences, human development. Maybe you like math. Maybe you like social studies. And let's just see what our results are. So once you get your results, it's going to give you your top 3 career matches according to the information that you provided the system. So anything in education, of course, right? Fits for me. Anything in healthcare and wellness. I always wanted to be a nurse. And then anything in customer service. Okay, so you can click on one and it will actually give you a whole lot more information about the one that you click on. So this was my first match. This is education. Okay, so from here, it's going to give you a little blurb about what education looks like. It's going to give you a bunch of different job openings in that area. Now, obviously, some of them are going to require more education than others. Okay, but read more. So that's the whole information right there. So there's just a whole lot to it. But then once you are also in Go Educate, you can search for programs if you are looking for something really specific. Create a free profile. This actually helps you to build a resume according to your skill sets. So this is a really cool feature because it's something that you can use their like language that they've already input into the computer to identify skill sets for yourself. And then explore careers and then find opportunities. All really cool things. Okay, so Go Educate. Just talked about this, right? Okay, oops, let me go back one. Okay, yeah, researching job opportunities. So there's some questions that you're going to have to ask yourself when you want a job. First of all, you're going to have to ask, what kind of job do you want? Most likely, you guys don't have a ton of job experience. You're just getting into the job market, which means you still kind of need to think about what you want to do. Do you want to work in food service? Do you want to work in childcare? Do you want to work in retail? All different things to ask yourselves. And then which places are hiring? And then what skills do you need to have for those different jobs? So I know you guys have talked a lot about soft skills with Miss Jenny. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about those today, but we're also going to talk about hard skills and what the difference is between the two. And then you also need to ask yourself what companies might be looking for. And then obviously as much as you want to project yourself well to a company, you want the company to be a good fit for you too. So what can you commit to? What's your availability look like? How many hours a week can you work? And then lastly, and potentially even most importantly, is it a good fit for you? If you don't like getting up in the mornings, a 6 a.m. job start time is probably not going to work well for you, right? Like, so a Starbucks and Dutch Bros, you can probably cross those off the list pretty safely, unless you're willing to really buckle down and get out of bed. Okay, hard skills versus soft skills. So hard skills are those measurable skills you will need to land a job. Things like experience, training, education, okay? Hard skills are those things that you really accumulate over time. Soft skills are the behaviors that people work and socialize well with others. So like your people skills, communication, adaptability, time management, collaboration, nice manners, ownership. So not, and I don't mean like ownership of, hey, this is my water bottle. I mean, being able to take ownership and responsibility for your actions. Listening, organization, those are all soft skills. Okay, so soft skills are not taught in school, but they are practiced and developed. So in this workshop, we're going to aim to develop your soft skills a little. First, let's look at hard versus soft skills in the workplace. Okay, oops. A photographer. You guys are going to have to unmute, okay? Or you can write in the chat box, and that's okay too. But think about the hard skills that a photographer is going to need. Training, education, experience. What are those hard skills that a photographer might need? feel free to unmute if you would like to just answer this one. Tim, Jordan, Nevaeh, anybody got anything? Hard skills? No? Okay. So some of the hard skills that you might need include knowing how to operate a camera, right? You need to know how to focus a camera and how to dial up the aperture and all the things that you need in order to take a quality picture. And then what are some of the soft skills a photographer might need? Obviously, they need to be able to talk to people, right? They need to be able to hustle for the jobs that they get because photography doesn't always just fall into your lap. You have to be able to hustle and put yourself out there and communicate well with people. But then also, once you have people who you're taking photos for, especially if it's family photos or something, you have to be able to engage them, right? So a photographer needs a really specific set of hard and soft skills. Okay, a doctor. So a doctor obviously needs a really specific set of hard skills. You obviously need to know how to work on people. So you need to know human anatomy. You need to know the body. You need to know what it's doing and why it's doing that. And you need to know how to fix it, right? Some of the soft skills. Anybody ever have a terrible doctor? A doctor where you're just like, oh man, like I wish this doctor's bedside manner was so much better. Or a dentist maybe that you were really uncomfortable with. Um, my husband and I always joke about when we go to the dentist, how, you know, they always ask you, oh, do you floss every day? And we do, actually, I promise, we do floss, but they always saw your gums with the floss so much differently than I would ever do on myself. So, you know, it might seem like I don't floss, but again, that's kind of like a bedside manner thing. So that's actually a soft skill. And then a hairstylist. Obviously, a hard skill for a hairstylist would be what? Having to cut hair, like knowing how to do that, cutting in a straight line rather than having a zigzag, right? Knowing how color agents and color products work if you're putting color on somebody's hair so that they don't have orange hair if they want red or if they want blonde. And the same thing with soft skills, right? Like it's a very, very specific set because it's a one-on-one situation where you're sitting down with this person and they might be in your chair for 2 hours, 3 hours even maybe. You need to be able to have a conversation with them. So conversational skills is huge. Okay, so how do we work on soft skills? Well, first of all, non-verbal communication. So you have to be able to speak clearly. So watch those ums and uhs. And the best way to improve this is honestly just to practice it. So as a speaker, be aware of your tone, your pace, and projecting your voice, so your volume, right? You don't want to talk too quickly or too slowly to where people can't pick up on what you're saying. You want to make sure that you're projecting your voice enough because if you're speaking in a whisper or if you're yelling at them, it's relatively off-putting. And then written skills are almost as important as being able to verbally communicate because you want to be able to make sure that you can write professionally. Emails are going to be huge in the work world for you guys. Nonverbal communication as well. So active listening, eye contact, encouraging the speaker through your interactions just with your like smiling and you're, you know, laughing maybe or nodding, right? Like, yeah, I'm listening. Making sure that you are controlling your facial expressions and your gestures. Have you ever, I know that there's that reel that's going around right now about how, you know, fix your face. Yeah, that's exactly what we mean here by facial expressions and gestures, right? Like making sure active listening that your face is responsive to the person who is speaking, confirming or reflecting on what the speaker's saying, clarifying and then not interrupting, eye contact and posture. Okay, activity time. All right. Linda, can we pause recording for a minute? All right. Hopefully everybody's back here with us. Hopefully everybody had a chance to connect for a minute and put some of those soft skills to the test. Okay. Up next, soft skill number 2 that we're going to talk about real quickly. I promise there's no activity this one. You're just going to talk about organization, okay? So keeping information out of your brain so that you don't forget things is actually really a super vital piece of information. And it's a huge part of organization too, because of the fact that if you think you're going to remember something and you don't write it down, or you don't have a place that you keep it to organize that information, then it's probably going to fly out of your brain the minute that it has the chance to. So if you are organized about your information, things like the Remind app in your phone, okay, like having a notes section in your phone where you keep notes or reminders to yourself, setting a timer, things like that, right? Labeling things, believe it or not, that's huge. That's a big part of organization for me, and like the way that my life operates, like with my home computer, right? Like my home office, but also just with your rooms too, and like your bathroom stuff. Having a spot for every single thing is a huge piece of organization. And then decluttering. So I know how teenagers are. I have 2 of them myself. And having a space that you feel organized in really does kind of help you feel less stressed and less anxious about getting to the task part of organizations, right? Like, so once things feel organized, then you feel like you can conquer something else. So if you declutter, having a space that you feel organized in allows you to conquer that work, and only keeping the things that are important to you rather than keeping every little teeny tiny, gumball ring, for example. So being early to everything is a huge part of organization. So my husband is a firefighter, and he always says, if you're on time, you're late. And it's true. If you think about only giving yourself enough time to get to where you need to go, but you're not giving yourself enough time to park, to find the building, to walk up to the office, to find the person you need to be talking to, right? You're really setting yourself up for failure. So giving yourself that extra 10, 15 minutes of time just to kind of not be stressed out about things, it really does actually lighten your load at the end of the day. So that looks like a lot of times waking up earlier. And I know that's probably not a very popular opinion with teenagers, but that's true. It's totally true. It helps. Setting as much as you can up the night before. So I know for my own kids, they pack their lunches the night before. They go to brick and mortar school. So they pack their lunches the night before. They lay out their outfits the night before. They make sure that they've showered the night before, and that their bedrooms are clean and organized before they go to bed, and that they have all of their school stuff together for the next day, so that then you can actually feel a whole lot more organized. And then always having a backup ready to go. So I know that everybody and their phone, like a lot of times, if you've got like a couple-year-old phone, for example, your battery can die quickly. So having a way to charge your phone, or having a battery pack with you, having extra pens, always having an extra on hand of whatever it is that's absolutely going to be an interruption to your life if you ran out of it. Make sure you have an extra so that you don't get caught, in a pickle. Okay, let's make a mind map. So remember that printer paper that I asked you to pull out? Okay, so we're going to go over this really quickly. And I don't know that we're going to get to the color side of it. If you want to color it later for yourself, you totally can. However, so a mind map is kind of a way, like a graphic organizer for yourself. And it will help you in building and kind of like quantifying the skills that you have, as well as where your interests lie, as well as what you do on a daily basis, so that when it comes time to create a resume or build a cover letter, you have some different things that you can pull from. So this is an example. This is another example. Not every single one is going to look exactly the same, but the key notes are that it's organized by color. Okay, generally. However, this time we're going to be quick about it, so we won't necessarily be organized by color right now. However, some of the things that you do regularly are the things that you put into the very first, I guess, graphic around yourself. Okay, so things like health, education, family, friends, hobbies. Okay, so if you're a sports person, that would go, your hobbies, your sports would go there. So then this is my mind map. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Um, but this is just a graphic for myself. So this is me. And then in these circles around myself, I have family, health, personal development, my house, my job, and my friends. Okay. So these are all things that are important for me in those arenas of my life. Okay. So personal development, these are all goals. Health, these are all, well, some of them are goals, right? Some of them are actually like requirements for my own, sanity. Family, like these are the pieces of my family that are a huge part of my life. Friends, these are big things that I want to make sure that I'm doing, goals almost even. And then work. These are things that I'm responsible for at work. And then around my house, same thing. These are my responsibilities, things, just things, it's just some quick things to note about, my house. So I want you to make your own mind map. And you are more than welcome to have different bubbles. Yours might not look like mine, and that's totally okay. You guys are in a very different phase of life, and I expect yours to look very different. But again, the purpose of this is to just kind of help you organize your life and what makes you you. So that, again, when it comes time to start thinking about writing a resume or a cover letter or applying for jobs or starting to think about interviewing, these are all things that you can kind of defer to help remember, who you are and what builds you. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to just kind of get out your piece of paper and write a mind map for yourself, create a mind map. Okay. It doesn't have to be colorful or pretty. I would just love for it to be just even maybe the first bubbles. You can go back to it later and add your own second bubbles, but just the very first things that you think of when it comes to you. Most of you have family members who you really care about, friends that you really care about. Hobbies, right? I didn't have hobbies on here, but hobbies, things that you enjoy doing. So let me go back to that for a minute because this was actually a better example for you guys. So education, right? School is a really big thing for you guys right now. Goals could be another thing that you put down here. Things that, you hope to accomplish. If you have questions, you are more than welcome to unmute yourself. Oh, did I stop the share? I meant to stop the recording for a minute. All right, now that we've made our mind map, we're going to talk really quickly about writing a resume. Give me a thumbs up on your screen if you already have a resume. Awesome. I see Tala does. I see anybody else? Okay, Randy does. Good. Perfect. Okay, so a few of you. Awesome. Okay, so what we're going to do really quickly is just talk about the components of a resume. Okay, so first and foremost, you're going to talk about skills. Okay, your skills. This is a place for you to put them all together, and you are writing all of your skills and all the things about you in one page. And it doesn't get to look like a mind map, it has to be professional. Okay, so having a great, concise resume is the very first step to a job. And okay, so this is just generally what a resume will look like. It may or may not have lines separating the boxes, but I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what the different sections are of a resume and what they will include. So at the very top is obviously your name, your email address, your phone number, your home address, okay, just so that these people can get a hold of you. Anybody who you're actually giving your resume to, I'm assuming it's because you're applying for a job, right? So if you give somebody your resume, you want them to be able to contact you. And then your career objectives. So this is a line that from resume to resume and each place that you apply might change just a little bit. So for example, if you were to apply to Jamba Juice, Your career objective may not look the same as if you were going to apply to be a childcare worker in the gym. Okay. So your career objective might look something like, great customer service skills and excited to work quickly. I love working with my hands, and I absolutely love, something along the lines of what Jamba Juice does. And then the same thing for the gym. So if you were wanted to apply for a gym job where you're working with kids, then it might be like, how great you are with kids and how flexible your schedule is and how quickly you can think on the fly because kids are unpredictable. Education. So this is where you're going to list what grade you are in high school, what your current academic year is. So if you're a freshman, you're going to list that here. If you're a senior, you're going to list that. You're going to list the name of the school. This is all of the information about the school that you're at and your GPA if it's above 3.5. So you're probably not going to want to list your GPA if it's 1.2. All right, work experience. Now, this isn't necessarily an area where all of you guys are going to have a full page worth of work experience, and nobody expects that of you. So when you are a teenager entering the job world, nobody expects you to have pages and pages of experience. However, some of the things in your life that you already do, you already have experience that you may not even realize. So things that you do to help out around the house. If your parents own a business and you've helped out there, if you've done babysitting, if you've done yard work, anything like that. Okay. If you've done bookkeeping, oh shoot. If you've done, bookkeeping, or you've done any sort of, let's see here, inventory. Okay. So if you've taken inventory of things and made sure that you have enough of them, right? Like those are work experience situations, things that you want to keep track of. Okay. So that you can list them on your resume. Skills. Again, this is where your skills would really come in. So you want to include your technical skills, your soft skills here. So if you're a really good communicator, or if you're really super organized, super detailed. Yes, absolutely. And then usually these are all presented in bullet point form, your skills. Your work experience will not all be bullet pointed like this. It will usually just be the very first part that's bullet pointed. So like your title or your position or the job. Volunteering and any extracurricular activities. So if you're part of NHS, National Honor Society, or if you volunteer at the Field Haven Kitty Animal Shelter up in Auburn, or if you volunteer your time with the elderly or something like that. Okay. Any sort of volunteer work that you've done. If you volunteer in your church's childcare. Okay. That would also be something that you could list here. Any sort of awards that you've been given, certifications and or seminars, those are all things that you can list on your resume. Okay, so this is an example resume. What are our thoughts? Any thoughts in particular? Aside from the fact that it's green and it's my favorite color. Here's the thing. I do love that her name is really awesome and easy to see up here. However, her contact information is down in the corner. So the layout is a little bit harder to read because generally speaking, it's all expected to be up here. Now, also, as much as it's cute to have a picture, it's not necessarily professional. It's actually not super considered professional at all. The reason being is is that you don't want to be judged for a picture like this, even though it's cute. So you just want to keep it professional. And again, that's the same thing with all of these little bubbles and colorful streaks. Let's see. Yeah. So the little bubbles and colorful streaks, it's cute, but it's just busy. Ariel, I see a hand.
The other day, we went to CAP, and
Right.
she gave us a whole class lecture, about an hour or so, about we need to have a picture, and you're saying we don't need. So What do I go with? I'm lost.
Well, um, I personally wouldn't suggest having a picture on there.
Here's the tricky thing. It's entirely up to the employer. So it's up to whoever is hiring. So you kind of want to think, what job are you applying for? Like if you're an actor and well, you're probably not going to send a resume. You're probably going to send like a reel and like some photos and headshots. But if they ever have a resume and you're working in the industry, you might want to have a picture. But if it's for like a teacher role, I have never really seen resumes with the picture. I think it's odd when it comes up when I'm hiring for teachers. So think about the job you're applying to, whether a photo is necessary. Um, yeah, just think about that. So it really is largely up to the employers because I will say Reese doesn't prefer it. I don't mind it. And maybe the CAP teacher says, she would prefer it too. So it all depends on the person, which is really tough for you guys. I would have a resume with all your information and then maybe create different like styles just depending on the job you're looking for.
Absolutely. And honestly, if you really wanted to include a picture, the best way to do that is to include, if you had like a LinkedIn profile, I would actually include a LinkedIn profile here, and there actually is a profile picture in your LinkedIn account. So it would link to a picture if they really wanted to explore further.
And if you
Okay.
haven't created a LinkedIn account, I highly recommend that you do that and you start adding your teachers, add your like classmates, because you'll make these connections and then you'll never know. When you graduate, maybe 10 years from now, you're looking for a job in you want to be a teacher, you want to be a counselor, maybe you want to work for one of our schools, then you really want to make that connection with Miss Perez or with me right now, so that eventually, if you're applying, you can go back and say, maybe I'll message them and see if there's a job opening. Let me ask them some questions. You never know who you want to make connections with. LinkedIn is pretty much old people Facebook, but like for business and work. So you might not think you need it now, but if you start making those connections, you'll never know who you'll make these connections now and then you never know when you'll need them later. That makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. Thank you, Linda. Okay, moving along. So tips and tricks real quick. So you want to use Grammarly to make sure that you've proofread. You want to keep it simple and concise. And you want to make sure that your email address is super professional because boo boo bear cutie 5757 at me.com is not appropriate. As much as it's super cute and it's you, save that for your family and friends. Your professional email should be your name, some variation of your name. Okay, so first name dot last name, first initial dot last name, something like that. Okay, and you want to make a list of your academic, sports, and extracurricular awards and activities. So just have a running list that you can just pull from as you're creating your resume. And then again, we've talked about volunteering, babysitting, dog walking. Okay. We're not going to have time for that one. So writing a cover letter, I'm just going to go over this really super duper quick. So each and every job that you apply to, you're going to have to write a cover letter. And that cover letter just describes a little bit more about you so that employers can see you more in depth than just who you are on your resume. So this is your very first introduction to a hiring manager, and you want to make it memorable, meaning while you want to use examples of what to include as your guide to building and creating your cover letter, you do not want to simply use a template. So basically, don't copy paste something from the internet, right? You want to make this meaningful, and it's okay to look at examples, but definitely don't copy paste. Okay. Hands in, resume at Subway, cover letters for KFC. Womp womp. Okay, so the anatomy of a cover letter, really briefly. So you want to have an introductory paragraph just to kind of open up information about who you are and what makes you a unique employee, a good option. The body paragraphs, you're going to list responsibilities of previous positions or experiences that you've had. And then your closing paragraph, you're going to re-emphasize why you're interested in the position, why you're interested in the company, and why you'd make it a good fit. So one of the most valuable things that I can offer when creating this, you're going to want to research the company that you are wanting to apply for. The reason being, if you find out that Starbucks is philanthropic and they have donated to UNICEF for the last 30 years, then it might be something worth mentioning. Like, oh, I love that you guys are philanthropic and I'm super passionate about philanthropy and giving back to my community and blah, 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 blah. I've coached a kids soccer team for the last 2 years, whatever it is, right? Do your homework so that the company knows that you actually do care and you are interested in what they have going on too. And then your call to action. So then you're going to prompt the reader, or in this case, most usually it's the hiring manager, to move forward with your application in order to offer you an interview. Okay. And then lastly, you're going to sign off with your name. Okay. So we won't go through all of this. I promise I will give you guys these slides, but I want to be mindful of your time too. Okay. So applying to a job, this is important. Do research about the company, right? We just talked about this. The About Us page on the company's website, make sure you go through that backwards and forwards, because that's going to give you such good insight into who they are as an organization and whether or not you really truly want to invest in this company with yourself. Read and reread the job description so that you know what kind of a job you're applying for. And then before you submit anything, make sure that you tweak it to the organization that you're applying for, both your resume and your cover letter. Okay. Let's see. Accepting and preparing for an interview. This is a big one. Here we go. So let's say that you have submitted your application, you've submitted your resume, you've submitted your cover letter, and they've called you and said, "Hello, Mrs. Perez. We'd like to offer you an interview." And you say, "Yay!" And you're so excited, but now you have no idea what to do. So you absolutely want to dress nicely. In most cases, you're going to have an in-person interview. Okay. So no words with no shirts with words on them. No dirty shoes, preferably no jeans. So if you have khakis or if you have slacks of some sort, that would be more appropriate. Make sure that you're well groomed and polite. Again, be early. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. This is really important, guys. Make sure that you shake your interviewer's hand, smile, make eye contact, and then make sure that you look at potential interview questions beforehand and practice them with a family member or a friend. Have like an A/B conversation. Okay. So like have your friend ask you an interview question and then practice how you would respond to it so that you are familiar with potential interview questions before you even get there. And then have questions ready for your interviewer. So once they've interviewed you, you always want to, they're going to say, "Do you have any questions for me?" That's usually the very last question. "Hey, do you have any questions for me?" Don't just say, "Nope, I think I'm good." Ask a follow-up question. So for example, you might ask how many customers they see on average per day at Starbucks. Or if you're feeling confident and you think the interview went well, you can ask what the next steps would be in the hiring process. Okay, so it's probably a good idea to bring a small notebook and pencil. You definitely don't want to use your phone for note taking, but make sure that if you have any sort of notes or questions, anything that might have come up in the interview, write it all down. And then make sure you have your interviewer's name or any pertinent information about them, because you want to make sure that you follow up with an email or a handwritten note if possible, just thanking them for their time and for interviewing you. Okay, so this is some sample interview questions. Almost always, right out the gate, they're going to ask you, "So tell us about yourself." And they're not looking for just a run-of-the-mill answer. They really want you to delve deep into who you are. Okay. Now, Why are you looking for a job? Why do you want to work for us? These are all really super valuable questions, things that you can actually just Google and find on the internet. Hey, what are some interview questions that I can prepare for? So succeeding in an interview. Okay, bad job interviews. You guys ready? Okay, let me see if I can share my sound. I hope I can. I hope it comes through on here. Can you guys hear that? No. Yes? Okay, Josiah says yes. No, Josiah says no. Okay, I've got to stop share for a minute because I think I forgot to click share sound. Okay. All right, everybody see that still? We good? Okay, let's try this again.
Hi, I'm the manager. My name is Paige.
Oh,
It's nice to meet you.
oh, it's nice to meet you too. My name's Kristen.
Which job are you applying for today?
I'm applying for the cashier position.
Can you tell me about yourself?
I'm responsible. I'm friendly, hardworking.
What are your job skills?
I can count money. I can use a cash register. I can kind of speak Spanish.
What is your past job experience?
I was a babysitter and an office cleaner.
What job responsibilities did you have at your last job?
I swept the floor, took out the trash, and dusted. Yeah.
Why did you leave your last job?
I left my last job because I needed more hours.
What type of work schedule are you looking for? Part-time or full-time?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just got a text from my friend, so I'm looking for full-time work.
Mornings or nights?
I'm looking for nights.
When can you start working?
I can start working, I guess next Monday.
Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I have one question. What is the pay?
I'm happy to answer that. $10.50 per hour. Thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Okay. Whew. There's a lot of red flags in here, guys. Okay. First of all, please don't ever show up to an interview with a beanie on your head and your phone in your hand and gum in your mouth. Oh, okay. If possible, don't even bring your phone in with you. Just leave it in the car. Just leave it in the car. I would hate for you guys to be construed as a screenager, so don't do it. Just leave it in the car. Also, you want to pay attention to how this person's body language was. She was kind of like lounging in her chair and she was just very informal in the way that she approached this. She wasn't making eye contact with the interviewer. She didn't seem super interested. She couldn't even really list skills that she had attained from her previous job. So make sure that you keep this in mind moving forward, because those are things that you don't want to do in an interview. Sorry, let me see if I can go forward. Okay, there we go. All right, so succeeding in an interview. So aside from dressing nicely and being well groomed, how you carry yourself really does matter. So you want to walk with confidence and make sure that you've got good posture. Arrive with extra paper copies of your resume and your cover letter, just in case the hiring manager doesn't have it on hand. And then also you can offer them a digital version, because again, we are living in the digital world. You can say, oh yeah, absolutely, I will send you a digital version as soon as we leave the interview, and make sure you follow up with that. Make sure you turn off your cell phone, or again, leave it in the car if you can. Be professional and attentive, and then send follow-up email. So bonus points if it's a handwritten note. Okay, so remember that little, like making a mental note or writing down the interviewer's name. Definitely want to follow up at the end. It just makes you a little bit more memorable. Okay, and then, oops. All right, mock interviews. Okay, so this is really exciting. we did this last year and I want to offer it to you guys again. So on 2 Fridays, not next Friday, but the following Friday, so 2/23, from 2 to 4:40 p.m., we're going to be offering 20-minute slots, and I'll add more as needed, okay? And we want to interview you guys, okay? So if you would like to sit through a mock interview and have a panel of Sequoia Grove staff members interview you and give you time to practice those skills and really hone what you would say in an interview, then here, I'm going to actually give you guys the link. This is the form, and it actually links at the bottom of this form to the calendar sign up. Do you guys see it right there? So that there's that link right there, and you can sign up at the bottom. Also, if you notice, there's a place to upload your resume and your cover letter so that we can see it beforehand, okay? If you don't have a cover letter, that's okay. However, I would like you guys to make a resume, okay? So let me drop this into the chat. Okay. All right, so that's the link to the mock interviews form, okay? And then let's see here. Okay, last but not least, I know it's 2 o'clock. Last thing. So how many of you guys are minors? Is anybody over 18? Okay, I think most of you guys are minors. So in California, you have to have a work permit in order to work when you're under 18. Okay, so you receive a work permit from your HST. So your HST can give you one. And then from there, you will fill out your personal information and then have your employer sign it and then give it back to your HST. And they will have the records department fill it out for you. And then you can even choose to add it to your class schedule as workplace skills and experience. So you could get credit for it too. And then if you're 16 or 17, you can work 4 hours a day and 8 hours a day on the weekends. And if you're 14 or 15, you can work 3 hours a day during school days and then 8 hours a day on the weekends, 18 hours total per week, okay? And only between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. All right, this is what a work permit looks like. So this is the part that you'll fill out yourself. This down here is the part that the employer will fill out. And this down here is the part that the school fills out. Okay. All right. Whew. That was a lot of information, guys. Thanks for sitting with me. If you have any questions or you want me to read your resume and your cover letter before you want to do a mock interview, feel free to send it to me and I will absolutely give you feedback beforehand. Or if you just want to send it to me and have us look at it on the day of a mock interview, that's totally fine too. Okay. Thank you guys for your time. And before we go, I do want to offer an opportunity for questions. So Linda, if you don't mind screen recording or stopping screen recording.